Okay, so get this. You know how many people like dream of being a director?
Hmm.
Like calling the shots on a film set, seeing, their vision on the big screen. It's
Yeah.
like the ultimate dream job, right?
Right.
But how many of those people actually stop and think about what it really takes to be a video or motion picture director
Yeah.
beyond, like the glitz and the glam?
Well, the reality is there's a huge gap between the kind of the perceived glamour and then like the day-to-day grind of the job.
For sure.
And that's why I think these excerpts from RoleCatcher are interesting.
Yeah.
This is a career website that really helps people navigate the film industry.
And they really get into the weeds, don't they?
They do.
We've got pages here from their director career guide. We've got stuff about like, tips on nailing interviews and even advice on how to like stand out to those AI-powered job application systems,
Yes, those are becoming more and more common,
which is kind of mind-blowing.
even in a field all about creativity.
I know, right? Wild. But we'll circle back to that a little bit later. First, I kind of want to unpack the director role itself using RoleCatcher's insights. And one thing that really jumped out at me from their career guide is just the sheer breadth of responsibilities, right? It's not all like red carpets and award ceremonies, is it?
Not even close. RoleCatcher really emphasizes just how demanding the job is. It's not just about having a great artistic vision,
Right.
which that's obviously important, but it's also about managing people and budgets and like incredibly tight timelines.
So it's almost like you need to be like a master storyteller, but also like a project management guru, like those two things together.
Exactly. And they're equally important. The functions and core abilities section really drives this point home.
Okay.
They give this example. Imagine you're setting up this really incredible shot, right?
Oh.
Perfect composition, the lighting's perfect, the works, and then you realize that, oh, you don't have the right permit to shoot in that location. Or the lead actor has to leave early for, another commitment. Right.
And suddenly your artistic vision has to be balanced with all these logistical realities.
It's true. I never thought about it like that. It is kind of like it's like conducting an orchestra, but instead of instruments, you're coordinating these like creative minds and equipment and locations.
Yeah.
And all under immense pressure.
Right.
No wonder directors always look so exhausted.
Yeah.
Although they, they do have that high earning potential listed as like a pro, right? In the pros and cons list.
True. Keep in mind, it's not just like a free ticket to like a massive paycheck.
Right.
RoleCatcher highlights that while the average salary, it varies greatly.
Yeah.
Those at the top can command, at the top you can get some significant figures, sometimes 6 or even 7 figures.
Wow.
But alongside that earning potential, they emphasize the realities of this field. Instability and fierce competition are constants.
Right.
You asked earlier how accurate those pros and cons were.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Even with immense talent, the film industry is notorious for being incredibly tough to break into.
Right.
And even tougher to stay afloat in.
It's got to be cutthroat.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, what drives people to pursue directing, knowing, what the odds are, what the.
Right, and that's where the passion factor comes in.
Okay.
RoleCatcher interviewed, a bunch of successful directors.
Yeah.
And a common thread that emerged was they thrived on the challenge.
Really?
They quoted one director who said, "There's nothing like seeing your vision come to life on screen. That feeling makes all the long hours and setbacks worth it."
Wow.
It's that drive to tell stories, to create something visually captivating that really fuels these people.
I love that. So we've established directing is no walk in the park, right? But like knowing how demanding it is, what are the paths people even take to become a director?
Right.
I was really surprised to find that like RoleCatcher doesn't even list a director degree
Yeah.
in their education level section.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I think it highlights how multifaceted the work is.
Yeah.
Instead of listing a specific degree, they really emphasize the value of diverse backgrounds.
Okay.
Film production, screenwriting, even theater arts.
Oh, interesting.
It seems like you need a little bit of everything in your toolkit to succeed as a director.
So it's less about like checking off these specific degree requirements and more about cultivating this wide range of skills and experience.
Yes.
It's like being a visual storyteller and a manager and a tech wizard all like rolled into one.
Precisely. And what's even more interesting, I think, is that they stress this learning as an ongoing process.
Okay.
They have a whole section on knowledge and learning
Uh-huh.
where they emphasize that even seasoned directors are constantly evolving their skills,
Right.
experimenting with new techniques, keeping up with the latest technologies.
So it's not even just about getting your foot in the door. It's like once you're in the door, you got to constantly be like pushing yourself to grow and adapt. Speaking of evolving, RoleCatcher's career stages section, I thought this was really interesting. They paint this really vivid picture of how a director's responsibilities actually like transform over time.
Right.
It's a far cry from just shouting action on set, isn't it?
It really is. They describe how at the entry level, it's all about assisting established directors,
Right.
absorbing everything you can, paying your dues, basically.
Yeah, you're like getting coffee.
Right. And then as a junior director, you start taking on more responsibility, like translating scripts and directing actors,
Okay.
maybe even overseeing smaller shoots.
Right. But it's still, I mean, that's still such a far cry from like calling the shots on a big budget Hollywood production that comes much later.
Yeah, the guide, it gives examples of what mid-level and senior directors do, and it really highlights the incredible progression.
Okay.
At those levels, you're managing much larger budgets.
Right.
You're leading bigger, more diverse teams and collaborating with, high-profile actors, producers, studio executives, it's a whole different ball game.
So the work becomes more complex, obviously more demanding, but also the potential rewards like amplify significantly, I imagine.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say you have the passion, you have the drive, you're actively building your skills, your experience. Like, how do you even begin to break into this notoriously competitive industry?
Yeah.
That's where I think those other RoleCatcher pages that you mentioned come in, right?
Yeah.
The ones about like navigating the job market.
Exactly.
Because it's a different world now.
See, the job market itself has transformed.
Yeah.
It used to be all about networking, right?
Right.
Knowing the right people, knocking on doors with your demo reel.
Yeah, showing up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's all algorithms. It's keywords. It's like automated systems like scanning your resume before a human even lays eyes on it.
It's true.
Honestly, that's kind of terrifying.
It is a little bit, yeah.
It feels very counterintuitive for a field that's supposed to be all about like creativity and artistic vision, It does feel like one of those weird paradoxes, right?
Yeah, okay.
You have this industry that thrives on this human connection, this, emotional impact, and now it's like so heavily reliant on these impersonal systems.
Yes, but RoleCatcher emphasizes how crucial it is to understand that and adapt to this new landscape, right?
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be a great filmmaker.
Right.
You need to understand how to market yourself effectively within this new system.
So true.
And that's where, their tailored CV and resume features come in, I think.
Yeah.
They have this really cool skills gap analysis that helps you see your experience from the algorithm's perspective.
I was reading about that. The
Yeah.
skills gap thing is so interesting. In the Beat the Automated Recruiter section, they have that example. They were like, let's say you've directed all of these indie films, which is super impressive. But if the algorithm is prioritizing candidates who also have experience with like commercial software, like Adobe Premiere,
Right.
you might be out of luck, You might have the skills, but the system doesn't know that unless you speak its language.
It's exactly like that. And that's what trips up a lot of creative people. They pour their heart into building these portfolios,
Yeah.
honing their craft, but they don't realize that their materials need to be packaged in a way that these systems can understand.
You got to play the game.
Otherwise, you're just shouting into a void,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So it's not even just about like your raw talent anymore. You need a strategy.
Yes.
You need to be tech savvy.
Yeah.
Like you need to understand how to work within this system. It makes you think differently about, like pursuing this career path in general in film.
It does make you appreciate the complexities, like behind the scenes.
So-
Filmmaking was never easy.
Right.
But now it requires this whole new level of like understanding and strategy, especially when you're just starting out.
It's not enough to just like dream of, lights, camera, action.
Exactly.
You need to know how to navigate all of this stuff.
Yes.
But even with all that, it sounds like passion and perseverance like still really matter at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Those are the qualities that no algorithm can replace.
That's true.
RoleCatcher, they provide the tools and the knowledge and the strategies,
Yeah.
but it's up to the individual to actually harness those resources and like bring their unique vision to life.
It's a powerful reminder that even in, like, a rapidly changing industry, right?
Yes.
Some things remain constant.
Yeah.
So for all of you aspiring directors out there, what's like the one key takeaway? What's the one thing that you should be like focusing on?
This deep dive, it never really ends.
It's true.
It's about continually, learning and adapting and really honing your craft.
Yeah.
Use the tools available like RoleCatcher to help navigate those complexities, but never lose sight of the passion that drives you, I think, in the first place.
I love that. It's not just about saying action, it's about taking it, right?
Right.
And learning from it.
Yeah.
Always trying to be better. And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of video and motion picture directing. We went from like, the dream to the realities.
Yes.
Uncovering the skills, the challenges, and yes, I mean, the potentially immense rewards that come with, bringing these stories to life on screen. For you listening, remember, the journey's ongoing.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep experimenting, and who knows, maybe we'll see your name in the credits someday.